It's Wendy with another episode of Darling Reacts. In this episode, I am going to be reacting to Shirley Temple doing one of her most famous songs, which is Animal Crackers in My Soup. Right up there with Good Ship Lollipop, which I also love. I just want to lead off by saying I've known Shirley Temple, or at least of her name, since I was very, very little. When I was a little girl, I spent considerable time with my grandmother, who had raised my mom back in the 1930s when Shirley Temple was the biggest thing ever, like number one box office star. You know, she's 5, but she's still the number one box office star. And she was known for her perfect ringlets. I think she had 36. Anyways, so apparently, back at the time my mom was growing up, every mom wanted to have, their daughter's hair look like Shirley Temple. And I think my grandmother did too, except my mom had number 1, dark hair, and number 2, just wasn't very thick. So you could not get all those curls. But when I was a little girl, I had thick blonde hair. And I spent time with my grandmother so that she would put curlers in my hair. So when I would sleep, I'd have these big curlers, and when I woke up, I'd have the little Shirley Temple ringlets, and I was pretty cute. So I remember, my mom would say that, and my grandmother would say that, but I can't specifically remember actually watching any Shirley Temple movies with my mom or grandmother, although maybe in the time I was growing up, it was a little more common to see clips with her on TV or something like that. I mean, anyways, it wasn't until I was a little older that I actually, watched a couple Shirley Temple movies. And then since then, I went nuts on YouTube several years ago watching all her stuff. And at Christmas time, if one of her movies comes on, I'll kind of stop and watch it because I'm just in awe of her. And I think I like this song of hers the best. I mean, it's not her song, but she sang it, and it's the cutest thing ever. The song is also just wonderful, and then you watch this performance, and you watch the context of it, and it's lots of fun. And now I have talked much too long for an intro, but now maybe you know a little bit about Shirley Temple and my history with Shirley Temple. So I'm going to go interact with this, and let's kick it off.
Crackers in my soup, monkeys and rabbits loop the loop. Gosh, oh gee, but I have fun swallowing animals one by one. In every bowl of soup I see lions and tigers watching me. I make 'em jump right through a hoop, those animal crackers in my soup. When I get hold of the big bad wolf, I just push him under the ground. Then I bite him in a million bits, and I go pull him right down. When the
Okay. Oh my gosh, I love this song. She's so adorable. Back when I was a teenager, I read a lot about old Hollywood, and I remember reading some articles about Shirley Temple, or at least people who had worked with her, and they said it was amazing. She was a complete sponge. You would say, here's a song, she'd hear it, and then she could sing it back like this. And you'd say, okay, well, here are some steps for this dance. She would hear it, and she could do it over and over again. So she would perform with, very, famous adult performers, most famously probably Bill Robinson. And he's, one of the most famous tap dancers ever. And, she can't copy him move for move, but, she's a 5-year-old kid, and she's doing this dancing, and she's singing at the same time, and she's not falling down. So it was very impressive. And so here you watch this, and, I don't know how many takes it took, but from the descriptions I've heard, people said it was just amazing. Like the gift that she had at that time, like, to do this type of work. I mean, I don't want to get into the whole child labor, what kind of a mom she had or whatever, because I don't really know her situation, but Just her raw talent was just unbelievable.
Inside me where it's dark, I walk around like Noah's Ark. I stuff my tummy like a goop with animal crackers in my soup. Animal crackers in my soup do funny things to me. They make me think my neighborhood is a big menagerie. For instance, there's our janitor. His name is Mr. Klein. And when he hollers at us kids, he reminds me of Hawaiian. The grocer is so big and fat, he has a big mustache. He looks just like a walrus just before he takes a splash. Animal crackers in my soup, pigs and rabbits loop the loop. Gosh, oh gee, but I have fun swallowing animals one by one. In every bowl of soup I see lions and tigers watching me. I make them jump right through a hoop, those animal crackers in my soup. When I get hold of the big bad wolf, I just push him under to drown. Then I bite him in a million bits, and I go boom him right down. When they're inside me where it's dark, I walk around like Noah's Ark. I stuff my tummy like a goop with animal crackers in my soup.
Okay. I know this scene's about to end, and this can't go on. Clearly, it's Shirley Temple, so someone's gonna bust her bubble because she was just always just too good and happy for everybody, and there ends up being a spoil sport. But I did want to say again, it's impressive. I mean, I think she was actually literally 5 or 6 when she was doing this, and you see these things are a continuous take. She's dancing, she's gesturing, she's looking at the camera, she's singing, and she's not messing up. So they can just do a single take. And the other thing that's funny is that she's singing words in this song that I don't think there's any way she would have known what they meant. She said something about how she feels like her stomach has a menagerie in it. Which is totally legitimate use of the word menagerie, but like a 5-year-old kid, that's just words to her, where someone said menagerie, and she's just repeating it back like a parrot. Too funny. And then I don't think I've actually ever noticed the part of the song where she starts talking about her neighborhood and talking about the janitor. That's just inside of a song that, mostly is about the fact it's funny that you're eating animals. So anyways, they're so happy. All these orphans, they're so happy. It's all because of her. Oh my gosh. This is brilliant.
When they're inside me where it's dark, I walk around like Noah's Ark. I stuff my tummy like a goop with animal crackers in my soup. Oh my goodness.
Singing in the dining room. Madam, is this the kind of manners you teach them?
Why, of course not, Mr. Wyckoff. They've been told they must always be quiet at mealtime.
Oh, they've been told, have they? Well, just telling them doesn't seem to be good enough. Perhaps a bit of real discipline wouldn't do them any harm.
Yes, you're all supposed to hate this guy. Everyone hated this guy. This guy showed up in lots of Shirley Temple movies and other movies. Those sourpusses. Who could be mad at Shirley Temple? Come on.
Have you been told not to sing in the dining room?
Yes, sir.
Then why do you do it? You're a bad and wicked child. You know that, don't you?
She isn't a bad or wicked child. She's just a baby. She was making the children laugh. Besides, it wasn't her fault. I told her to sing for the children.
And who are you, young woman? Are you an orphan, too?
Yes, sir.
Then what right have you to be here, living on charity at your age?
I'll tell you what I'm doing here.
Boy, this guy is seriously a jerk. Come on. I mean, I can imagine in the theater people just like throwing things at the screen and going boo at this guy. Oh, come on. Look at her. These people are beautiful.
I scrub the floors and make the beds and wash and iron and cook from 6 in the morning until 9 at night.
Quiet!
I won't be quiet. You're a mean and hateful man to frighten little children.
Mary, report to my office after the meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
The rest of you will go to the main yard and wait there till it's time for inspection by our dear trustees.
Whew. Oh no. Oh. So, well, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen to Shirley Temple and that girl? I actually don't know because I can't remember the plot of this movie. However, my prediction is that that girl, the one who just stood up for her, meets a nice guy, gets to leave the orphanage, they get married, and they adopt Shirley Temple, and they live happily ever after. There's a good likelihood I'm right on this, and I have not seen this movie, or I haven't seen it in a very long time. Anyway, so I hope everyone enjoyed Shirley Temple and realizes that you all need a little Shirley Temple in your life, because I don't know how you can hate her. I guess there must be some people who just say, oh God, she's so annoying. Like it gets on the nerves for some reason, but just, I love her. And, yeah. One last thing I wanted to say is just sort of fit Shirley Temple into the whole context, of the time in which she was popular, which is, as I said, 1930s. She was, for probably a period of around 5 years, like the #1 box office idol. It was like her, Bing Crosby, and like Rin Tin Tin. I'm not kidding. There actually were dogs in that pantheon at the time. So, she was riding up on there, and she just had movie after movie that, she was this, spunky little girl who was just adorable, and, she could sing, she could dance, she knew her lines. And they were one of those things that people clung to in what was pretty dark and dire times. There's just a whole bunch of things that were happening during the 1930s. I mean, the most obvious one everyone knows about is the Depression, and then there were things like the Dust Bowl hitting the center of the United States, and everyone losing their homes, and then they'd go over to other states, think about Grapes of Wrath, and not be able to find employment there. This was also a time before there was Social Security, and before a lot of things that Roosevelt put into place happened, so that you had lots and lots of elderly people who had no income and were extremely impoverished. You had lots of people crammed into cities in terrible housing. You had a large portion of the country, I think especially in the Southeast, where people did not have running water, did not have indoor toilets. So the movies were a place where you could see a different sort of life. Escapism especially was a big part of this, whether you're talking about, Ginger Rogers, Fred Astaire movies, like, a couple of them I've shown. I'm like, that's escapism. Like, that is not a real world. Or, sunnier things like this, which maybe aren't like the big musicals, but sort of these cute little musicals with Shirley Temple, and, the little girl who, she may start out in an orphanage, but, eventually, she's going to have a nice mom and dad and get, 3 square meals a day and everything like that. It's just sort of a wonderful world that people would join in on. And people did go to the movies a lot back in those days. They had radio, and then they had going to the movies, and stuff like this, kept people afloat emotionally. And this was in the 30s, and, you know, obviously this continued, especially into the 40s, when you had war going on and you really needed further escapism. Again, thank you for joining me for this episode. I don't really have any fans or anyone commenting on any of my videos as I'm recording this, but if you are watching it years later, leave me a note. I will read it. All right. See you all later.